Royal family members fear as Prince William battled for his life after being trapped in a car accident. The days leading up to the accident were by all appearances ordinary. London's royal calendar was packed with engagements, charity visits, and meetings that, while routine in the eyes of the public, carried immense weight behind the palace walls. Welcome viewers to my channel. Please subscribe, like my video, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update. Prince William had been moving seamlessly between these commitments, a figure of composure and dedication. To the outside world, he seemed untouchable, a man fully in command of his life and future. But beneath the surface, the pressures of expectation, duty, and personal responsibility were mounting in ways few could perceive. Early one morning, William arrived at a children's hospital in central London. Greeted by eager nurses and bright-eyed patients, he walked the corridors, speaking softly to each child, offering encouragement, laughter, and the rare comfort of a royal who seemed genuinely present. His charisma was effortless, but even in those moments of public warmth, there was a shadow of fatigue in his eyes. Observers noted the strain, a slight pause in his step, a hand brushing unconsciously through his hair, signs that the weight of the monarchy was never far from his mind. After the hospital visit, William returned to Kensington Palace, where he spent time with Kate and their children. They played quietly in the sunlit rooms of their residence, laughter echoing in spaces normally dominated by the formality of royal life. Yet, in these moments, William's mind was only partially present. Decisions about future charitable projects, discussions with aides, and the planning of upcoming international trips ran through his head like a constant hum. Every smile he offered his children carried a silent reassurance that despite the burdens he bore, he would remain steadfast for them and for the crown he was destined to inherit. That evening, he attended a small private dinner with close family and advisors. The conversation, though light on the surface, was laced with underlying tension. Courtiers and aides spoke in measured tones, aware that even minor missteps could be scrutinized and remembered. William, as always, listened carefully, weighing advice, nodding thoughtfully, yet occasionally withdrawing into silence, his mind wandering to matters beyond the conversation. It was a subtle tension, invisible to the casual observer, but recognizable to those who had watched him navigate royal responsibilities for years. Later that night, he returned to his private quarters to review correspondence and prepare for the following day's engagements. Letters from charitable organizations, briefing notes from government officials, and reports on ongoing royal initiatives lay spread across his desk. William meticulously read each document, making mental notes and occasionally jotting observations. This attention to detail, this relentless commitment to his role, was both his strength and in some ways his vulnerability. It demanded constant vigilance, leaving little room for distraction, yet it could not protect him from the unforeseen. Meanwhile, the city outside carried on unaware of the looming tragedy. Londoners walked the streets, went about their errands, and navigated the usual chaos of the metropolis. Cars honked, street vendors called to passers-by, and lights flickered in apartment windows. Life moved forward with its usual rhythm, completely indifferent to the danger approaching one of its most famous residents. In a cruel twist of fate, the ordinary backdrop of the city would soon become the stage for an extraordinary disaster. The royal security team had completed routine checks, ensuring the vehicles were prepared for the following day's engagements. Drivers tested the engines, mechanics inspected the tires, and bodyguards reviewed the convoy's route. Everything appeared standard, normal, and safe. Yet, as with every system, there remained an element beyond human control: the unpredictability of traffic, weather, and circumstance. William, unaware of any potential hazard, would soon be at the mercy of forces entirely outside his influence. In the quiet of Kensington Palace, Kate spent the evening with the children, reading stories, and tucking them into bed. William, finishing his work, joined her briefly, sharing a moment of calm and connection. They spoke of minor household matters, their tone intimate and warm, a brief respite from the relentless scrutiny of royal life. These were the hours that would later be remembered by friends and family as tragically ordinary, the last moments of peace before the storm. By late night, William prepared for rest. He checked his schedule one final time, set his alarm, and stepped out briefly onto the balcony overlooking the quiet streets below. London was bathed in the soft glow of street lights, the hum of distant traffic barely audible. He inhaled deeply, allowing himself a rare moment of reflection, thinking of his parents, his responsibilities, and the life he had built alongside Kate and their children. In hindsight, it would appear as a serene prelude, a calm that foreshadowed the chaos that was about to consume him. No one could have predicted the sudden trajectory that awaited him. In the hours that followed, a combination of chance, timing, and misfortune would transform a seemingly ordinary evening into a night of terror and uncertainty. The city's rhythm would be broken, the palace gates thrown into frantic activity, and the world would watch in disbelief as one of its most beloved figures fought for survival. The calm of that night stands in stark contrast to what came next. Every detail, the laughter with children, the quiet moments with Kate, the meticulous work completed at the desk, would be etched into memory, forming a poignant backdrop to the horror that unfolded. It was a reminder that tragedy often arrives not with warning, but in the silence that precedes it, and that life's most ordinary moments can be shattered in an instant. As London slept, completely unaware, the stage was set. The pieces were in place, and fate was about to intervene. A routine drive, a city street, a single miscalculation, and everything would change forever. The calm had ended, and the chaos was just beginning. The evening air was crisp as Prince William stepped into his vehicle, unaware that the night ahead would redefine everything he had known. The streets of London were alive with movement, cars rushing home, the occasional pedestrian hurrying along sidewalks, and the distant hum of nightlife spilling from pubs and cafes. To the untrained eye, it was an ordinary Thursday evening. To those charged with his protection, it was just another assignment, routine, methodical, predictable. But fate has a way of ignoring the predictable. The vehicle carrying the prince was sleek, armored, and operated by seasoned drivers trained for every conceivable emergency. The convoy followed a carefully mapped route, one meant to minimize risk while maintaining discretion. Security protocols had been rehearsed countless times. Every turn, every junction, and every potential threat had been considered and rehearsed. Yet, in that moment, none of it could prepare them for what was about to unfold. Minutes into the drive, the first sign of trouble appeared as a slight disturbance in the road ahead. A vehicle, seemingly out of place, emerged from a side street at speed. The driver instinctively braked, attempting to maneuver around the sudden obstacle. In those brief seconds, time slowed. The hum of the engine, the whir of the tires on asphalt, the faint murmur of city life, all became insignificant against the sharp, acute danger approaching. Witnesses later described a sudden screech, a violent swerve, and then an impact that was both thunderous and surreal. The armored vehicle carrying the heir to the throne collided with an unseen object, spinning uncontrollably before coming to a sudden halt. Glass shattered, metal twisted, and the air was filled with the acrid smell of burning rubber and heated machinery. Inside the car, Prince William was thrown against his seat belt, pain and shock mingling in a disorienting haze. The world outside blurred into a chaotic mess of flashing lights and frantic movement. Emergency protocols kicked in immediately. The driver radioed for assistance while the security team assessed the situation. Their voices were calm, precise, betraying none of the panic that simmered beneath the surface. But inside the vehicle, the reality was terrifying. William was trapped, partially pinned by the crumpled metal, his breath shallow, his body trembling from both shock and pain. Every second felt like an eternity. Every heartbeat was a reminder that survival was uncertain. The first responders arrived within minutes, though to those waiting at home it felt like hours. Police cars and ambulances converged on the scene, lights flashing, sirens blaring. Crowds had begun to gather despite the chaos drawn by curiosity, fear, and the instinctive recognition that something monumental had occurred. Reporters scrambled to capture the first images while security personnel worked frantically to clear the area, shield the prince from view, and facilitate the rescue. Inside the mangled vehicle, medical teams worked with precision. Their hands moved quickly, carefully assessing injuries, stabilizing the prince, and preparing for extraction. Every motion carried immense weight. The wrong move could exacerbate an already critical situation. William's consciousness flickered in and out. Fragments of thought surfaced in brief, disoriented flashes. He recalled the day's events, the laughter of his children, Kate's gentle voice, and the relentless responsibility that had defined his life. The juxtaposition of memory and immediate danger created a surreal, almost dreamlike state. Outside the car, the crowd was a mixture of panic and awe. Bystanders whispered prayers, some wept openly, while others captured footage on their phones. The sirens, the shouting, the sudden arrival of helicopters hovering above the city, all contributed to a surreal sense that history itself was being witnessed. Social media lit up almost instantly, though many of the details were speculative, conflicting, and sensationalized. The narrative began to form even before facts could be fully confirmed. At Buckingham Palace, the reaction was immediate and visceral. The initial call from the security details sent ripples of shock through the household. King Charles reportedly dropped the folder he had been reviewing, disbelief flashing across his features. "He's my son," he muttered quietly to Camilla, his voice tight with emotion. How could this happen? Courtiers scrambled to provide accurate updates. Though the chaos made communication nearly impossible, rumors circulated faster than facts could be verified, feeding both fear and uncertainty. Kate Middleton's response was intensely personal and profoundly human. She was transported to the hospital as quickly as possible, her mind racing through every potential outcome. On the journey, she held on to the fragments of hope she could muster, recalling the resilience and strength that had defined William's character. Friends later described her demeanor as composed on the surface, yet internally consumed by terror, fear, and an almost unbearable anticipation of loss. Meanwhile, Prince Harry, upon learning of the accident, made immediate arrangements to fly back to London. Though their relationship had been strained, the news of his brother's peril transcended any personal grievances. Family bonds, once fractured, seemed to realign under the pressure of potential tragedy. Harry reportedly remained in close contact with aides and family friends, coordinating his return and seeking any news that could provide reassurance. At the scene, the technicalities of the accident began to emerge. Investigators noted skid marks on the road, the final trajectory of the car, and minor debris indicating the sudden nature of the collision. While early reports suggested it may have been a result of a miscalculated maneuver, nothing could yet be confirmed. Every detail was scrutinized, every possibility considered. The stakes were immeasurably high. Even the smallest revelation could shift public perception, influence media narratives, and impact the family's internal stability. As hours passed, the prince remained trapped in the vehicle. Pain and fear were constant companions. Medical personnel worked tirelessly, providing sedation, assessing injuries, and preparing for extraction. The process was painstakingly slow. Each movement could make the difference between life and death. William's calm, cultivated in years of public service, was tested to its limits. The man known for composure and resilience was suddenly rendered human in the most raw, vulnerable sense. By midnight, the scene had evolved into a controlled frenzy. Helicopters hovered overhead, coordinating with ground teams to provide rapid transport once extraction was complete. Emergency lighting painted the city streets in surreal hues of red and blue, reflecting off glass and metal fragments. The public, though largely kept at a distance, could sense the gravity of the situation. News helicopters captured fleeting images of the prince being carefully moved, shrouded in protective blankets, his body stabilized but his fate uncertain. The palace remained in a state of anxious vigilance. King Charles, Queen Camilla, and senior aides monitored updates from multiple sources, while secretaries prepared statements for potential media release. Conversations were hushed, precise and deliberate. Every word mattered. Every decision carried consequences far beyond the immediate medical emergency. In the background, a silent question lingered. If the heir to the throne were incapacitated or worse, how would the monarchy respond, and how would the public react? In those critical hours, the human element of the story was unmistakable. Fear, love, hope, and uncertainty intertwined in a way that transcended protocol or ceremony. The royal family, despite centuries of tradition and preparation, faced a moment that was entirely beyond their control. For once, their titles, privileges, and experience offered no protection. They were a family grappling with the same visceral terror any parent or spouse would feel in the face of life-threatening danger to a loved one. Witnesses later described the scene with a mix of awe and horror. Some spoke of the precision and professionalism of the emergency teams, their calm presence, a stark contrast to the chaos. Others recounted the emotional weight, the palpable fear that hung over the site like a physical force. And everywhere the shadow of history loomed. Comparisons to past royal tragedies, particularly the loss of Princess Diana, were inevitable, adding an extra layer of poignancy and tension to an already heart-stopping situation. As dawn approached, the vehicle carrying Prince William was finally cleared for extraction. The procedure was meticulous, every action calculated to ensure minimal risk. Slowly, carefully, the prince was moved into an ambulance, his injuries stabilized, but still serious. The journey to the hospital was tense, filled with the sounds of sirens, whispered instructions, and the quiet, almost imperceptible beeping of monitoring equipment. Each mile traveled was a mile closer to potential recovery. Yet the outcome remained uncertain. London, now fully awake, was alive with speculation. Media outlets scrambled to provide verified information, while social platforms amplified rumors, analysis, and opinions. In homes across the country, citizens waited, many with tears in their eyes, hoping for a positive update. The collective anxiety was palpable, a reflection of both the prince's symbolic significance and the raw human instinct to hope and fear simultaneously. Within the hospital, medical teams prepared for intensive treatment. Surgeons reviewed scans, discussed possible interventions, and coordinated resources to address every possible complication. Friends, family, and aides remained outside, pacing, whispering prayers, and clinging to the hope that their loved one would survive. It was a night defined by tension, uncertainty, and the fragile intersection between human vulnerability and extraordinary circumstance. The tragic night had begun as any other, but by the time the first light of morning crept over London, it had transformed into a story of survival, fear, and resilience. The wheels of fate had turned unexpectedly, casting the royal family, the nation, and the world into a state of anxious anticipation. Every heartbeat, every moment of consciousness for Prince William was a triumph against odds that no one could have predicted. And yet, even as he fought for life within the sterile walls of the hospital, the consequences of that night were already beginning to ripple outward through the family, through the monarchy, and through a public force to confront the fragile humanity of those they had long seen as untouchable symbols of stability and tradition. The tragic night unfolds was not just an event. It was a turning point. The calm had ended. The chaos had arrived. and the battle for survival had begun in earnest. Inside Buckingham Palace, the news of Prince William's accident hit like a shockwave. Curters, aides, and household staff moved with urgent purpose. The usual calm of the historic halls replaced by a tense flurry of activity. Phones rang incessantly. Messages were rushed through secure lines, and the king's private office became a command center of controlled panic. Every corner of the palace seemed to echo with the unspoken fear that one of its most vital members was fighting for life outside its walls. King Charles, normally composed under pressure, felt the weight of history pressing down on him. As a monarch, he was trained to navigate crisis, to manage public perception, and to maintain the dignity of the institution. But as a father, he was unprepared. Reports say he stood rigidly by the window of his office, staring into the night as aides briefed him in fragmented sentences, their voices tight with urgency. The words "serious accident" and "critical condition" repeated in his mind like a drum beat he could not escape. Camilla stood silently by his side, her hand on his arm, offering support that he could barely feel through the haze of worry. Elsewhere in the palace, senior aides convened emergency meetings. Discussions ranged from media strategy to the logistical needs of the family. "We need to control the narrative," one advisor reportedly said. "We cannot let speculation spiral into panic." Another countered, "The public will know something is wrong regardless. We must focus on accuracy and empathy." The tension between transparency and secrecy created a complex web of decisions, each carrying immense consequence. A single misstep could inflame public fear, fuel conspiracy theories, and strain an already fragile royal image. Kate Middleton, still en route to the hospital, was a focal point of concern. Curters and aides coordinated her arrival, ensuring privacy while simultaneously alerting medical staff. Her presence at the hospital was crucial, not only for William's emotional well-being, but also for the stability of the family unit. Staff described her as composed outwardly. Yet those who glimpsed her face noted the subtle tremors of exhaustion and anxiety and emotional weight that she carried silently as a partner and mother. Prince Harry, despite being across the Atlantic, became immediately involved. He coordinated flights, reached out to mutual friends, and maintained constant communication with the palace. Strain between him and Charles, already a matter of public record, momentarily vanished under the shadow of urgent family need. Harry's determination to reach London reflected the universal instinct to be present in moments of crisis, overriding past grievances or political consideration.